Trinity, we are back for another week. We are shifting over this week to the AFC. There is one NFC division, Ray, that we have not done yet, and that is because we still are waiting for the Super Bowl to conclude so we can hit on the Seahawks because we know they're probably going to be losing their coach. But we're back. For those that have missed it, we've done 3 prior episodes talking about the 3 other NFC divisions. We're hitting the AFC today for episode 4. This is Trinity Tuesdays. It's really Thursday, Wednesday, whenever we get it out, but we promise to do all of these before the start of free agency, going through each team, each player, talking about free agency, talking about the environments for each one of them and how we're going to apply this to our Dynasty team. So, Ray, how you feeling? You ready to get into the AFC today?
Yeah, man, get excited. Damn, man. Hell yeah, I'm excited to talk receivers, usage. You know, season's about to come to an end. And this is the time where you can really have some fun, just talking through a bunch of stuff that we're not going to figure out until the season starts. All these different offensive coordinators, head coaching changes. How is this rookie going to fit with this team and this personnel grouping? It's really the fun time to just dynasty theory out, NFL game theory things out, and to use this to talk through the receiver position, the tight end position. Hopefully it helps. A lot of people like it. Makes sense. Trust it, baby. I'm excited. Let's do it.
Yeah, we like to go through and kind of look at team by team, player to player, but then also kind of figure out where there may be some edges. And I know we're only looking at 4 teams at one time, but we can start broadening our horizons when we start talking about these players because we've already talked about quite a few receivers prior to this. We had a great discussion the first episode talking about J-Mo versus Christian Watson versus Jordan Addison. And then the last episode, we talked about George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb and the Cowboys situation and then what you do with all the Tampa Bay receivers. And really it's how to compare receiver to receiver when all their environments are different. I think that's the thing is you look at the Trinity. We were messing around the other day with some total Trinity and some concentration scores. If you want to dive into that, there's a lot more meat on the bone there that we're not even going to be able to dive into in this episode. But every environment's different. Every team's different. Every team has a different quarterback, has a different efficiency, has a different concentration, etc. So here to walk through that today. Let's pull up the Texans, the Titans, the Jags, and the Colts to get them on the screen.
Will do.
I usually filter by, let's do this. We didn't do this last time, but let's make it every Trinity score above 3, right? Just to filter out all of the gnats, the roster clogger gnats. And there's still some irrelevant guys, I think, on this list, but it at least gets rid of a lot of those just random 4th tight ends, etc. But I know what stands out to me. I don't know about you, but I know the first thing that stands out to me is this ain't a great receiver division. There's a lot of interesting players. There's a lot of solid receivers, but there's a lot of them that live in the I'm not sure what to do. How much would I pay for? How really good are some of these weapons? Outside of Nico Collins, there is not a single guy above a Trinity score of what do we got here? A 6.6 for Alec Pierce. And Jacoby Myers, 6.7.
Yeah, Jacoby 6.7. 6.7 for Myers.
No alphas in this division. I mean, when Nico Collins is the best you got, and he's probably you could squint and say
Nico's good. Nico's stop it. Nico's good.
Top 10. I think that's fair to put him in that that 1B, 2A type tier, but he's by far the best in the division. Everybody else, depending on the premium, I mean, we'll talk about a few tight ends in this division, but there's 10 other receivers, and I'm like, I could see where that guy could be good, but I could also tell you they're very interchangeable based on the KTC value. So I want to look at some KTC value earlier, but where you want to start? I got a feeling of where I want to go first.
Where do you want to go first? What I want to do quickly is, because there might be somebody new that just clicked this video today and they don't know what Trinity, what the hell are these dots? Mm-hmm. It's a composite of things, fantasy football metrics, NFL metrics that have correlated to fantasy scoring. We've kind of made this gumbo, right? It started with just looking. I mean, there are episodes on here, Scott. If you ever just want to have a good time looking at how the evolution of this started, go just search Trinity on the YouTube channel and look at the first episodes where I just used data. It was targets, share, it was routes, it was yards after the catch, air yards, and just seeing that there were certain things, like I would look across the board and be like, dang, everyone that's inside the top 10, all their air yards, they're here. Or they have a certain threshold at target share. But a lot of people, Scott, don't really know what yards per route run means as an isolated metric or yak or whatever it is, first downs. So we put that into one score. We plot that on here, and that usage, their Trinity score, it correlates to fantasy scoring, and it holds year over year. So we kind of put all that stuff together into one pot, one bucket to give you just a clean look at how all of that stuff relates to fantasy scoring, and then more importantly, how it kind of factors into those players on their teams. So that's a quick synopsis of what Trinity Score is. But who did you say go to, Scott?
Yeah, we can start with the Titans because they have a brand new regime. But I think just to piggyback on what you said, like the other thing you can do is exactly what Ray said, and then you're also comparing it to, if you just look on the screen, anytime we pull up a Trinity score, when you just look at the score chart, you're going to see the yellow regression line, which just kind of shows like, is the player doing what is expected based on their usage? Are they above it or below it?
Yeah.
And we've talked about this many times that when, like, just, I know you put the Titans up there, but if you just went back to the entire division, you don't have to do it, but anybody that goes back 10 seconds in the video, you can also tell just high level. Ray, there's not great quarterbacks in this division either. There's a couple good ones, but there's obvious problems when you see pretty much every player below the line. And then you also see the usage not super high like you might see in some other divisions where there's 3, 4, 5 guys that are up there where Nico Collins is. So we'll talk through that with each team, what the environments look like. Is the problem just the quarterback? Is it also there's too many guys that are actually siphoning, like truly the target concentration is too spread out. Like there's not enough of the pie to go around. Even if it's a decent sized pie, there's 5 people at the table that are eating it. So it's just never going to be as good as it might be in another offense. But yeah, let's get to the Titans first. They have, if you think Titans, right? I mean, where do you even start with trying to figure out what their offense could look like, given that it's a brand new regime and the only thing you really have to compare it to is, I guess, the Robert Salah Jets? But is that even really a comparison, given that, I don't know, like where, if I say compare the Titans, what are you trying to think of what their offense might look like? They do have Brian Daboll, but like, are we really going back to the Jets and the Giants of the past to figure out the Titans offense, or what's your thoughts?
I'm waiting until the until the NFL draft, free agency. I don't think about Tennessee. I don't want them. Like I there's no, sure, in deep dynasty leagues, all Helm, DK, Manor, Ridley, Okonkwo, they're probably all rostered. Everybody, even a Van Jefferson in the right league, they're probably all rostered. But we're talking about what am I actually doing? Decisions made. Am I acquiring? Am I buying? Am I drafting high? The answer is no. This offense stunk last year. It was not a good offense from a pass catching standpoint. The situation was rough. It's year one in a new system, so it can't get worse than it was last season. I'm expecting some positive output, but today, nothing. They sign Alec Pierce and bring some more people in, then I'll be a little more interested, but I'm not banking on any of these guys doing anything next season for me. Not anybody that's on the screen right now. They get George Pickens, great. I'm in. I'll draft him appropriately. He won't be slotted where he was in Dallas, but I'll take him. They get Alec Pierce. I'm still going to have him, right? They're going to pay him a lot of money. There's just nothing that I want from this iteration of this offense right now. I'll let it happen.
So let's focus on the screen. So you have Chiga Okonkwo. He's a free agent. I'm guessing they go in a different direction with him. So you can almost remove him from the screen for purposes of next year. You can probably remove Xavier Restrepo and Van Jefferson. You know, they were part-time. Van Jefferson's been Brown forever. Xavier Restrepo was a UDFA. I mean, he might make the team, but I don't think he's
I'm with you. I'm with you, Scott.
So I think it's Gunnar Helm and the 3
you.
other receivers. And so, like, those are the 4 we're looking at. So if you look at those 4, what's interesting is First of all, the Titans' environment was terrible last year, bottom 5 in the league, and it wasn't just one thing. I mean, outside of, so I incorporated the new average per player. So just taking their Trinity score, and the one thing that helped the Titans is they just didn't have a lot of players.
Right.
You only see
Right.
7 on the screen, right?
Well, no,
I think they had
I took off Jefferson. I just moved that point per game threshold to 3, and they disappeared.
So they had basically they used 11 total players for the year, which is right around average. But that's the only thing that was kind of saving them, was that nobody was good. So the average is actually a little bit higher per player, but everything else was bad. Passing efficiency was bad. Their rates were bad in terms of plays per game. Neutral pass rate was super low. Like, everything was bad. So I think the first thing that we have to dissect is, yes, they could draft a receiver. Yes, they could sign a receiver. But before we even get there, I know he kind of gets shit on because he hasn't lived up to his contract, but like, at default right now, probably Calvin Ridley would still be the guy I would want the most. But here's the question. Given that he hasn't really separated from the other weapons on the team, is the quarterback itself, is the environment good enough really even to support one guy, assuming that let's say they did get George Pickens? You could probably look at that and say, I'm okay with George Pickens, right? I don't know if his ceiling is wide receiver 1 overall, but I think the real question is assessing the environment. And that's a Cam Ward question, right? Like, I've said it all year. I was very vocal about Cam Ward's not that good, but I think that got taken out of context of, I think he's absolutely terrible. That was never the argument. The argument was, this dude was the 101. Is he going to be an elevator of an offense? Even if they drafted a receiver in the first, hell, signed a receiver and then drafted a receiver in the second, is this an offense that's elevating 3 guys? You know what I mean? That's the question. And if you say no, then I think the weapons discussion becomes a little easier to parse through.
That is the question. I don't know, man. I'll say this.
The cohorts are bad.
I get that, man. And this is where it's hard to argue what you're going to bring to the table, because it's all happened, it's all data. But the reality is, man, like, this was awful. We've seen very good quarterbacks with bad weaponry, and we're dogging out Patrick Mahomes. So that is where part of real football has to come into play here. Where literally people are dogging out Mahomes. He stinks, can't throw the deep ball, and he's a 3-time Super Bowl MVP. So no, Cam Ward probably, even in the more fruitful of environments, wasn't going to support Elik Eomanor, Chig Okonkwo, and Chimere Dike on a week-to-week basis. And I hear you talking about Ridley. He's not the same player. Like, his contract, if they had to do it again, they absolutely would not. He's not the same player. So I don't have a lot of interest in Calvin Ridley personally. But if you gave Cam Ward, Carnell Tate, and Alec Pierce, and Brian Daboll, here's what I'll say. It wouldn't be a situation that I would ignore. It wouldn't be a situation where I'm just going to say 0, I don't want any. Like, yeah, like, that can absolutely make a difference for a quarterback. So will it play out? You look at Jackson Dart, it wasn't like he was elevating all kinds of dog shit receivers. Jackson Dart was just good, and he could run around, and he found his guys. So I think sometimes, I know what the data and the historical things say, but there is some real life context that was going on. They were starting 3 rookie pass catchers in an offense with a lame duck and fired coach. There's just, I don't know how. I don't know how that was going to succeed and work.
I think we can come to a compromise here, because I do agree. I can't just take Cam Ward's rookie year and apply that and say, well, the guys he's comparing to historically are all guys that were washed out of the league by the time they were in their 4th year. But I think it's fair to say, okay, if this goes right, okay, if it just, now I'm not saying it goes incredible to where he makes a Drake May leap. You know what I mean? I'm saying if it just goes right, he improves, they go from the 30th best offense in the league to the 21st. or 19th, and you're like, you know what? They have a couple viable weapons. They're growing with Cam Ward. That's probably like what you're hoping for in the next year or two, to where they get to their league average and they view him as a quarterback they can give an extension to, and they can continue to try to maybe win in a couple years. So for fantasy, you're probably looking at 2 guys.
It's Houston to me. It's Houston to me. He can he have his Nico and maybe somebody else on a week-to-week basis is there. 2 guys.
To 3 guys. So now let's parse out if we're taking that 2 to 3 as a fair range of, and the third guy is like
the third guy is he's the third guy, but he's the guy you really only want to play when one of the other 2 guys are out. Like, okay, I'll bump Darnell Mooney up.
It's a certain way. It's not a locked and loaded, I'm starting him every week. Okay. So let's just assume we're somewhere between 2 and 3. You already made it clear about Ridley. Let's start with Gunnar Helm, because I think he plays a different position. But if he is one of the pass catchers, did he do enough where you think, okay, I'm putting him in the category of guy that might be able to be a starter? Or is it one of those where probably not? What do you think? Because I kind of like Gunnar Helm, but I also could see a world where here's a replacement. And
here's what Gunnar Helm is to me. Gunnar Helm feels kind of like Dalton Schultz before Dalton Schultz became Dalton Schultz, to where Dallas absolutely could have upgraded the tight end position and gotten somebody better, but he was good enough to just go do it. And because he was out there, he was usable. He was good because he's out there. I think that's Gunnar Helm. He wouldn't be somebody that I would ever let hold up a deal, ever. Like, I'm ironclad in this Gunnar Helm, but I don't mind him.
I mean, he is a rookie tight end. I mean, a lot of times if you just get on the field and play as much as he played, like, that's a successful year. So I think it's lukewarm interest in him. But in terms of the receivers, I think the big question is, of the non-Calvin Ridley receivers, I would take Ayamaner over Chimere DK, but are either of them subject to anything other than they're going to be on the team? Because they're on rookie deals. They'll be out there, but feels like both of them could end up getting impact. If they drafted a guy in the second and signed a guy like Romeo Dobbs or Alec Pierce, like, they come in and they're better than the guys they had, correct?
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yes.
So what are we doing? Let's go to the KTC versus KTC on Tennessee, because I think it's there is a cult love out there, especially in our community, and I think it's because we play in a lot of these sicko leagues with return yards, right? But there is a cult love for Chimere DK. I mean, he is the highest valued Tennessee Titans. Now Tennessee Titan. Now we're not talking
he's a Pro Bowler,
high value, but you don't look at his Trinity and go, he should have the highest KTC of anybody on the team, right? That feels like probably a guy you could probably sell for third. Okay. And it feels like a definite, it's not that he won't have a role.
Right.
But this feels like, just looking at this screen right here, this isn't a guy you need on your roster, correct? If you could get anything flexible, I'd be fine taking anything else that could help me over him. So,
Absolutely.
Any buys at all? People that go, so would you buy any parts of the Tennessee offense, Ray? Would you squint? Would you pay anything for Alec Ayamaner?
A third? Did I get it for a third?
If you had to pick between Ayamaner and DK, it would be Ayamaner for you?
Yeah.
Yep, same here.
Can I get him for a third? Can I get him as a throw-in? Is he going to hold the deal up?
No, but he might be a small enough piece where if you would rather him than draft Adam Randall in the third this year.
I'd rather him over a third. I'd rather him over
this year's third, right?
Tyron Montgomery from John Carroll. If I'm going to blow a pick on a 7th round receiver, I'd rather just have Alec Ayamaner. Think about that, man. If you want that Ted Hurst at the 301, or I want Alec, I would take Alec over that.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting comparing him to this year's class, because there's going to be a bunch of those receivers, Antonio Williams, just a ton of guys where you're like, I'm not sure what to do with them. And lo and behold, Ray, I bet you at least one of those dudes goes to the Titans. You know, they'll take one of those guys like in the third.
Come on, man.
They're going to be comparing Jeremy Bernard to the guys they already have, and they're just adding another guy of what they already have.
Please don't add Jeremy Bernard. That next team, who are we talking? Or is there anything else you got with Tennessee?
No, I think the takeaway is it's a bad environment that even if it gets better, you're probably expecting league average. And I think the bigger point is they really don't have a lot that's appealing on their current roster. So they don't have a player that's worth a second. Even.
Let's see what Elick is. Have you looked at his range of outcome?
I haven't.
Because his Trinity wasn't awful. I mean, it was low. Oh yeah, efficiency adjusted 514. It's low. Let's see what we get spitted out. Let's see what we're looking at for Elick, and look at the range of this. High end 14 points, medium end right at 10, and then the low end 8, and he was at 7.23. So that median range outcome, 50th percentile, one of the common names in that range, Alan Lazard from 2024. That would be if he hits his 50 percentile outcome based on his efficiency adjusted score. So you're looking at a 9-10 point per game player potentially for Air Manor. Scott, I will take that over, again, Tyron Montgomery in the third.
Yeah, I just looked up Ridley's. His is almost identical to Air Manor, and then DK's is way lower. And really,
DK's
that wide band of like 7 to 15 points, like probably a lot of that has to do with Cam Ward.
100%.
Like if it just shows you that the usage, at least that Ridley and Air Manor got, if it was a better situation, could have approached the top 30, top 40. You know what I mean? But that's very dependent on how good the quarterback is.
I got one for you here. That's CJ Uzama. How do you like that? That's your boy.
What year? 2020.
2020.
Not 2020.
That's your boy. Not a lot of, again, the environment was awful. Take this with a grain of salt. I do expect. Just what if Brian Daboll can turn Helm into Theo Johnson and one of those guys into a Wandell type? Like there could be something here. If I could get Elick or Helm tossed into a deal because people aren't thinking about the shitty Titans, okay, I would do it. I would do it. But I'm not prioritizing them.
I hate to belabor the Titans, but real quick, go to 2022 Trinity.
I never thought that we would be on Tennessee this long.
Well, but you know what? It's a new environment. I think the others actually are, I don't want to say they're easier to talk through, but there's not going to be a lot that changes with the other teams. So we can spend an extra minute or two on this. Go to the 2022 Giants.
Oh, 2022 Giants. Okay.
This was this was Brian Daboll with a mash unit of weapons in 2022 for the Giants. And Wandale, Darius Slayton, Daniel Bellinger.
Yep. I mean, Neighbors is clearly not there. He's on there because of the thing.
Yeah, but this was the year where they got to the playoffs.
Yep.
With Daniel Jones, and you would have looked at that receiver core and been like,
Slayton, Hodgins.
This wasn't a good. This wasn't a great group. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Kind of looks like the Titans last year. So if he can take the Titans last year, maybe they're going to add another guy or two.
Yes.
But at least you have an OC that has a track record of being able to get decent production out of not great players.
Yeah, so. I agree. Oh, here it is. I had to hit update. I was like, why does that look like that? There it is right there. Hodgins, Slayton, and Robinson. There it is right there for the people looking. There it is.
Yep.
And that's what, 2022 with Daboll?
It was 2022. I mean, you could go look at 2023 and 2024. Yeah. But, until he got Neighbors, it's not like he had great receivers on the Giants either. And
no, he did not.
Their passing offense definitely got a little better when they had Daboll to a degree. So, they just had a quarterback issue. So that comes back to Cam Ward. Like, do the Titans have a quarterback issue? If they don't, then this might be a sneaky spot where everyone just casts it off as, oh, it's never going to be good, and then maybe it's average.
Yes. All right, well, we're not looking at the Giants right now. So Where are we going now?
Let's see. I think the Colts are a fun one to talk about because they're very much on the hot seat, and everybody's coming back for 2025. I know you assume Daniel Jones is coming back for 2026. But removing Alec Pierce, which I guess we don't know if they're going to re-sign Alec Pierce, but if they don't, you've heard the stuff about basically they're potentially choosing between Alec Pierce and Michael Pittman.
I've heard that. And
Like
I also
Pittman
heard
could be cut
that
to keep
Daniel
Pierce.
Jones comment. Let's revisit that. So you still are along the line that they're going to go spend money on another. I heard what you said. I let it go for a second, but let's reverse pivot back to it. So you're
the
still,
YouTubers didn't get our discussion from last Friday's community chat, so we'll kind of rehab that now. So go ahead.
Touche. You still don't think they're going to go find another quarterback?
I think, and I respect your football takes here, because there's two things at play. One, I think this is a year where there's a lot of comparable quarterbacks that are going to hit the market at different prices. Okay. That's the Scott Connor, what would I do if I was running the team? And I don't give a shit about things like team chemistry or scheme fit or nothing like that. I'm just looking at all these options.
You're just moneyballing this thing.
I'm looking at the options, and and again, the people making this decision are going to be spoken to differently than Scott Connor, who looks at Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen as their lame ducks. They're probably gone anyway, so they might as well try to get the best bang for their buck. But of course, we know in-house, Shane Steichen's probably looking at it the opposite, right? This is his ass on the line. And if he brings in Malik Willis and he doesn't know if he can run his offense and it doesn't work, he's absolutely cooked. So does he go back to the guy that, yes, he has a torn Achilles, but he at least knows if Daniel Jones can walk and move, that it does work. They do have a blueprint that they could use. And if this offense just gets back to average in the league and they're close to what they were last year, like they just have to get by.
When were they cooking? Because we're looking at them for the full season. He got hurt week 12, I believe, because they're bye.
Go week 1 through, I believe it was the London game.
I think it was week 12. 10. I think it was 12 where he got
10
hurt.
is when he was like unaffected by the injury. So maybe do the first half of the year.
I mean,
1 through 9 or 1 through 10.
There's 1 through 10. I mean, again, there was nobody in the 7 range, but you had 2 guys in between a 6.6 and a 6 Trinity. 2 receivers, a tight end, and then there's Downs down there who was still being utilized but not producing. I mean, Daniel Jones was doing a pretty good job. All things considered, Jones was doing the offense was, none of the guys were elite. You had a 2 11-point per game guys and a 12-point per game guy.
Yeah, and pretty good concentration too. If you just filtered off of the sub 2 Trinity guys, it would be the most clean offense you could get. I mean, they only use 9 guys all year, and you don't have another one below the top 4 guys that's over 2. So it's very clean in terms of just getting any peripheral targets or usage out of the way for fantasy.
Yes.
And actually, Ray, that we'll look at the second half of the year in a second, but that first half of the year offense actually keeps their environment still pretty high for the season.
I'm sure it does.
Like, the concentration helps it, but the environment itself was pretty good just because those numbers from the beginning of the year stuck. I mean, they were basically top 15 in every category except for plays per game.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's a good environment. So that's probably why you go back to Daniel Jones. It's not like we're talking about the 30th best environment here. It's just trying to get back to a range where you're top half of the league.
We keep saying go back to him. I mean, we still haven't seen a quarterback return from it, play on it that year, and be good, right? We still have yet to see that happen. Cousins, after tearing it, he went to Atlanta, and he didn't look good, and then they pivoted to Penix. Aaron Rodgers tore it, and then he had to come. He tore it on the first game, so he pretty much missed the whole season again. You know what I mean? And then he came back with Pittsburgh, with the Jets, and he was pretty good. He was okay with the Jets that second season.
He was going to come back for the damn playoffs if they made it.
Yeah.
He's like, but then he didn't. It's risky.
It's risky as hell, dude. And he tore it at the end of the season, Scott, Daniel Jones. Week 12, 13, whatever, but still, it's the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, and you remove Alec Pierce off here, or you remove Michael Pittman off here, so you can argue, I mean, those were their top two Trinity guys when they were cooking. So now, tight end premium, I mean, Warren is very, very strong for a tight end in terms of his usage, but I don't know. How do you parse through this? Because I'm looking at this going like, okay, if you had to choose, I think Alec Pierce will probably end up getting paid similarly to what Michael Pittman's getting paid. But if you had to choose between the two, because I think that does change their offense if you remove one of those guys, probably elevates Josh Downs to a degree. But I think the elevation of Josh Downs is probably too high. If like Pittman were to get cut, people will say Josh Downs is their wide receiver one.
You know who I would choose? You know who I would choose? It's so hard to answer this because we don't know where Pierce is going to play. I think that would impact a lot. But the person that I think it impacts the most would be Tyler Warren.
Michael Pittman. If you're the Colts, who would you choose? Assuming everything's the same. I mean, I know it's just your opinion. I mean, because they may have to pick between the two.
But how... that's tough, man. That's tough. If I go with Pierce, you're really counting on... If they picked Pierce over Pittman, it would mean very good things for Tyler Warren. Because Pierce does not do that. Like, Tyler Warren is going at... And then you elevate Josh Downs to see if he can do some of that Pittman stuff. If you keep Pittman there... Like, I think Pittman and Warren kind of... They both move up, but they're in their roles. And then Josh Downs takes a different type of step up. I don't know.
Well, look at this. Because where is Pierce right now? If you go to that first half of the year, and then let's just say they said we're giving Pierce a 3-year, $85 million deal. Like something crazy, right?
Yeah.
And then they trade or cut Michael Pittman. Pierce is right in that buy zone, isn't he?
Yeah, he's in there. Yes. That's the buy zone right there. Yeah, he's in there. Let's go this. Let's go Indy.
I'm going to look up the, while you're doing that, I'm going to look up the 11 through 17 range and just see how starkly different it is.
I'll go look it up too. There's Pierce's KTC right there. He's valued higher than Downs and Pittman. Wow.
You're going to be blown away.
At what? The Pierce Trinity?
11 through 17 for the Colts offense.
Okay, hold on. Let's.
This is the story without Daniel. This is actually the more solid argument for Daniel Jones when you just look at this. And you know nothing else about it.
11 through 17?
11 through 17, yep. This is why you bring back Daniel Jones if he can walk.
All right, I got to hit update. Hold on. Make it big. Let's put wow. Wolf.
So the usage really didn't change. I mean, Downs took a step up. Pierce took a little step back, but look how much different. I mean, look at that production. Pittman, 8 points a game. Downs, 7 points a game. Warren, 7 points a game. I mean, just the floor dropped out of their production, regardless of what. Once Daniel 100%. Jones was hampered, it went away.
Yep. You don't even see the green. They're scaled so far back, you don't even see the green. It's awful. And what this shows is Pierce was by far the best one when they gave him usage, and it was right at like you're doing the average amount with what you're getting, Because look at his score. What's the Trinity on him? It's not even that is high. It's Pierce.
No, his Trinity's actually lower.
He's not even inside the band.
Yeah, he was the best of the receivers once they had an injured Daniel Jones or an out Daniel Jones, but he had the worst usage. So it's just it flip-flopped.
Yeah. Nasty. So what's the takeaway with I still think, and you probably can play it this way, I still think that somebody's going to leave. Pierce is maybe he comes back. Damn it. Maybe I'm wrong and he comes back. Tyler Warren is getting discounted a little too hard. If I'm not saying he should be the tight end 3 or the tight end 2, but he's set up to be fed in this offense, and shit did go off it went off the rails for everybody at the end. Jonathan Taylor included. Nobody was good except Alec Pierce down the stretch. So if one of those guys leaves, the biggest benefit, there's no other receiver on here. It's that no other receiver exists on the screen. So you remove one of the big three, the one that they spent the most money on that plays tight end, he's going to be the one. He will be the biggest beneficiary. Book it.
I think if Pierce comes back too, if you go to the historical range for Pierce, it's interesting because I think people would classify him as you hear the term boom or bust, but you don't see many floors of 11 points. That means you're going to get something.
That's
and
nice.
You know you're going to get weeks because we've seen it for 2 years where you're going to get a couple big games.
Yes.
Like this feels like we're probably, you remember during the midseason mayhem stream where Brandon took Pierce like wide receiver 20. Whatever the hell it was, and people are clowning him, going, "Oh man, that's way too high." Like, I'm not saying he has a wide receiver 1 ceiling, but I think there's still some bias on Pierce's market given where he started, and people just never expected him to be as good as Josh Downs or Michael Pittman.
No.
So they just still took a little while to push him up into the range where it's like, man, he's a top 24 option. If there's no Pittman, and you got an 11 point per game floor, that pretty much means like I'm going to get top 15 to 30 numbers from you.
Yep.
And I know I'm going to have some big weeks mixed in there. So we're probably a little higher on Pierce for that reason. If he comes in at like wide receiver 30, you know what I mean? Like he's probably a guy you'd want to buy, assuming Daniel Jones gets back and it's not a completely new. They bring in Kyler, they bring in someone like all bets are off because you don't know what it's going to look like.
You don't know what it's going to look like.
Jones. Yeah.
I think one of the scariest things for Indy is we'll see, man. Because back to the QB, somebody's got to run the ship for the first 10 weeks of the season, right? Somebody's got to run it.
You just hope it's Daniel Jones and he can be a distributor.
Like there's no way he's back on. There's no way he's back on the field by September.
I think he will be back. I don't know how good he will be. I think he'll be on the field. I don't agree. I think he'll be back sooner rather than later.
10-month Achilles surgery recovery time?
Yeah.
I mean, I've gone through again. I'm no Daniel Jones, but I thought the diagnosis was a year or something like that.
No, I think it's 8 to 10 months.
Okay,
but there's a difference between. I mean, I bet you we could pull. We're not going to do it right now, but go look up Daniel Jones's career passing efficiency. He isn't necessarily the guy you line up and go just distribute to 4 weapons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've never seen him play that role. So if he can't move, what impact does that have on the offense overall? So I think that's the question is, can he play the distributor role for a year where he may not be 100% mobile?
I bet you that Riley Leonard gets starts next year. I bet you they roll him out the first 4 weeks. I'm telling you, dude, the worst thing that could have happened was him to get in at the end, that last game, and look good against the top defense and have the fan base saying, why wasn't he playing the whole time? We'll revisit. Yeah. We'll revisit.
Good stuff. That's the Colts. Where do you want to go next? We talk about the Jags all the time. Jags or Texans? They both have been popular across the Trinity waves this year.
Let's go Houston.
Houston. All right.
A lot of dots on the screen. A lot of dots. A lot of dots for Houston. H-Town.
Ugh. Well, let's see. We can remove everything below 3. I think we can probably.
Man, I like having them up there, man. Look at all these dots. Talk about it. Come on, man. Man, you can take them off, but I need people to see the names because they're all rostered, right? Stover and Barrios, Jaylen Null, got that Justin Watson, Jared Wayne, who hurt Tank. We don't even have Tank Dell on the screen. Christian Kirk, Hutchinson. Yeah, man, let's go.
So they have Christian Kirk is a free agent.
All right, so he's gone.
So that's probably one that we can remove for purposes of next year.
He's gone.
They got Obviously, Null and Higgins are rookies from last year. Cade Stover was a second-year player, so he'll be there. Dalton Schultz will be there. Nico Collins will be there. Tank Dell's interesting. He's. I've seen some people talking about when he gets back, like we heard it in voice chat yesterday. CJ Stroud has never been good since Tank Dell's been out. But that doesn't mean that you just add Tank Dell back in and he's Tank Dell from 2023.
He won't be.
But I can't argue that if he was back, just the presence of having him could be helpful in terms of what he becomes from a fantasy standpoint. That's a different story. But what filters you want to use? Anything? I mean, because it's looking at the screen.
Well, I'm going to 23 right now. I'm going to 23 with Tank, Nico, and Christian Kirk and Dalton Schultz. And look at it.
So 23, they had.
There's Nico and Dell. Yeah, I know. I said Kirk is there. Nico and Tank. There they go. That was Tank. This is when I first started doing Trinity. It was around 22, 23. These two were like the poster childs for it. Nico's kind of like in the same range. Mm-hmm. Still a high scorer, obviously more usage, but there was big debate about those two that season. A lot of conversation. Would you rather Tank Dell or Nico Collins? There he is. What those two tell me alone, knowing Christian Kirk wasn't there, like this right here lets me know that Stroud was pretty good. To have two guys above the line, further up in usage. Both of these players were good back in 2023. I'll go back to 25.
Well, in 23, they also had Robert Woods.
Yep.
And he got a lot of targets. And so fast forward, I think the Tank Dell conversation comes down to, he had a bad injury. His injury was like a year-long, shredded.
Destroyed his leg.
Huh. So what does he get back to? Like, does he get back to a range where he's impacting the Dalton Schultz usage? Is he impacting obviously like the Jaylen Null usage? Like that's probably the player I'm most worried about if you still value him at all relative to Tank Dell coming back. But I think it has an impact on everybody too. And obviously Stroud, this environment last year, so interestingly, this environment was 11th. But the one thing holding back the environment is pretty much just the quarterback play.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else pretty good. Like the offense itself, because they couldn't run the ball. So they were top 10 in neutral pass rate and plays per game. And just basically league average quarterback efficiency. Like Stroud wasn't as bad as people made him out to be. He wasn't. He was terrible in the playoffs. So people now think he's like, shouldn't get a contract extension. But I think he's fine. I think for purposes of what we're trying to look at from a receiver standpoint or a weapon standpoint, I do think this is an environment that can support three things, three weapons. It's just, who are they? Talked up Jayden Higgins.
Okay.
Want to look at the second half for Jayden Higgins? That's typically what we do with rookies. See what that looks like. He definitely got used more as the season went on.
I've kept talking about Higgins when we were
talked
doing
about
this.
him a few times on the stream.
Where'd you go? What filters?
I just went second half of the year, 9 through 17.
9 through 17.
Just looked at his Trinity and where it landed. It went up about 2 points. Not great, but
what's it up?
Solid.
The 4.38.
Yeah, it went up about a point, 5.18 to 4.38. Yeah, I'm sure we can maybe push that back a couple more weeks and it goes. If we wanted to,
yeah, but yeah. Yeah, let me do that. Let's just go. Let's go 11 through 17 at the end and see what we get. 11 through 17. Yeah, he got inside the band. 5.77. There were a couple of. He was the second most utilized. Now there were some. He's a little lower beneath that, which everybody outside of Nico is, which just lets me know the offense. Stroud was not very. It was rough at points. Like everybody's below the line. I'm not saying he was god awful. It's not, and the reason why it is not is they're not all way in the back like Tennessee or like Carolina looked last year. You still have somebody at the very top, and if I start to segment this down even tighter, Jayden Higgins will move up because he did have some weeks being utilized. I like Higgins. You add Tank Dell back to the fold. I think the real person that spells doom for is Null. A lot of people like Jaylen Null, but if Dell comes back, he's going to play on the field before Jaylen Null does.
I mean, Knowles Trinity in the second half, I'm just looking at 9 through 17. I mean, you look, what is it on your screen? It's 1.82 for the second half of the year, and yours appears to be a little even lower. I mean, that's not what you want to see for a rookie, right?
I'm 11 through 17, and it's a 1.
Right, 11, 9, but that's not what you want to see in the second half of the year for a rookie.
No.
In the ones.
No.
And then you have a guy potentially coming back next year. Let's go to KTC real quick.
All right.
Just look at Jaylen Null, because I guarantee you.
Just make sure all that stuff is. I'm just making sure it's all filtered to the right. You know, I got all kind of different years going right now. Houston. Yep. Boom, Houston. Boom, boom. Let's get the labels on there. There's Null.
Still valued at.
Man,
I mean, he's valued higher than Alec Iamaner
and Dalton Schultz on his own team, which I you know.
I mean, if you're above 2,000 on KTC, that means there's some value. Someone may give you a third. They may give you a running back. You know what I mean? Like it's an asset that clearly this usage says that I'm not interested in probably betting on him ever being more than just a guy that's on my roster that I don't know what to do with in a year or two. But because he's up in the value range that he is, I mean, you could get something for him.
Yes.
Don't know what that is. I don't know what that looks like in your individual league, but that's definitely a player just like DK, where you're like, if I can get anything useful, he can go in the deal or he can get liquidated. So that's the takeaway, I think, with Null. Everyone else kind of is what they are. Schultz is fine. I'd buy him in the right premium, but like, I'm not expecting him to burn me if I don't have a lot of shares of him, you know, but I think his usage is probably pretty standalone.
But what about Nico? Let me just ask you, Nico right now, he's an awesome player when he's on.
Mm-hmm.
Nico or Carnell Tate? And I'm not talking production. I'm talking the whole dynasty shebang, what you can do with them.
Value-wise, I think most people would take those 3 receiver picks this year over Nico. But if you were just scared of having to make rookie picks because you don't like the class,
could you range? Is that a range? If you just were like, I don't want any of those guys, I want to just move this for Nico Collins. No one's going to bat an eye, right?
Here's the thing about Nico. I think all the Texans are a little undervalued because, I mean, there's this hive of people that just think CJ Stroud is pure trash.
No way, dude.
All the data suggests that CJ Stroud is a average to slightly above average distributor.
Yes.
Now you can say, okay, maybe he needs a better run game. Maybe he needs a better line, but
he does.
I actually think this could be, if they can fix those things, this is an environment that could be more fruitful than I think what's in people's perceptions right now.
Okay.
Like, I think people are comparing him to, like, there was a debate the other day in the Discord, Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, who's better? And it's not close. In terms of what, for fantasy, the environment and what I would want to see from a quarterback or pass catchers, like, it's not close between the two, but I think there's a real debate of actually who's better. And I think it's definitely Stroud. So I think he's a little undervalued, man. He's like quarterback 22. On KTC. He's down right in that range where it's like 2 or 3 spots below him are the guys that are about to get benched.
What rookie pick could get him? Just what do you think? What rookie pick?
I mean, we did the mock draft.
I want the lowest. I don't want to give up my Carnell Tate or my Kai.
We did the mock on Mannequin Chill, and Shane's a different animal sometimes, but I'm looking at there going, if I need a quarterback, do you have any reservations sending the 107 to get CJ Stroud? Just because you're not replacing him in this class unless you have the 102. That's it.
Correct.
So
I would take Stroud over Ty Simpson or Trinidad Chambliss. Yes.
Again, if you're after a quarterback, you may not want to.
Can I do that? Could I? What? Yes, but what do you mean you would? The rights to draft Casey Concepcion or get a damn quarterback in Superflex.
I agree. But I think if you're willing to offer one of those picks, 106 to 108, you got a good shot. People do not like CJ Stroud.
And I need
That playoff game might have presented a massive buy opportunity because the narrative out there is he is a garbage can, and he's not. He's not. He had a bad
He's
game. He's
not.
had some bad.
Do
He's had some
people not
bad
know
runs.
the I'm not saying Stroud didn't have his fair share of problems at the end. The offensive line, not good. The running game, not good. The receiving corps, Nico was bad. Like, there are a lot of reasons how this can. I'm not saying it's going to turn into the Rams next year, but to take a step forward, I don't think that's an unreasonable expectation of Houston. But who's the last team? Jacksonville. Let's go. We got to talk about them.
Jacksonville.
Oh.
Probably one of the more talked about teams that we have covered.
Dude,
on Trinity this year.
Is my filtered right? Hold on. Let me.
I think you might have had 11 through 17 on there.
Let me. I do not think I have 11 through 17. It is all week, Scott Goddard. Yeah, Jacoby leading the way.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing about the Jaguars that we've talked about previously is there's not a lot of fluidity with this receiver core, right? But like you just isolate those 5 because we can assume Hunter Long's going to be gone, Diami Brown.
Yeah, I'll get them out the way. I'll get those other. I'll Trinity Score filter them out.
But there's a real world where once you hit update and get those guys down, okay, there's a real world where this is. I got to make sure yours looks the same as mine. I got it slightly different than you. Hold on.
What do you have?
I just have full season. My screen looks different than you. I have full season, Jacksonville 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. Okay, I got to
hit update weeks 1 through 17.
Yep. Okay, we got it.
I was gonna say,
there's a real world where this. I mean, this is what it looks like next year, Ray. Like, none of these guys are going to go anywhere. Myers is signed.
Let me go into season because that's when Myers got here. We're looking at the full year. I'm going, what is our 9
you had no Hunter.
Hell, I didn't have Hunter the first part of the season either.
I know, but I'm saying, like, we're trying to, those are the 5 you kind of got to work through. I mean, yeah, we can filter it through.
Well, then there's another way to do this. There's another way to reverse engineer this. So 9 through, because he got hurt in week 9. So Hunter
got hurt in 8. That was the one.
He got hurt in 8. He got hurt in 8.
And then he didn't play after that. And then they acquired Myers shortly after. So you can probably go 1 through 8 for Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of the year
other ones for the other guys. Okay, so here's past Travis Hunter's hurt. Okay. So you've got Myers. Parker Washington was the real revelation at the end. He's the only one above the line. And then Strange, I think he is an awesome tight end buy. I would be trying to get Britton Strange. He had missed a lot of the season with a hip injury, but when he came back, like, he was involved right away. And then I think BTJ we'll see what they do with him. Myers kind of dipped a little bit. He started off hot, and then he kind of took a back seat a little bit to Parker Washington. So what do you do with this situation?
So, I mean, we can look at the first half of the year and see where Hunter was, and assuming we push him back. I mean, he's a whole separate debate on how you think he's going to be used. But I think the conversation starts with, like, who are the roles that you can probably just lock into what they are? That's probably Jacoby Myers. His role, I would assume you can probably lock him into what he is. Like, he's been this thing basically his whole career. I wouldn't anticipate that it changes much. They just committed $60 million to him.
Yeah.
So he feels like if you're doing projections for the Jags, he feels like the one you just pencil in for, 17% of the targets or whatever. And it's like, I know what he is. He's been doing it for 6 years in a row. Unless he gets hurt, that's probably the staple. I think the more elastic ones are, how good is BTJ? How good is Parker Washington? I bet you when we go to KTC in a second, you'll see the gap between Parker Washington and BTJ is like mountains. Yet the Trinity tells literally the opposite story as to who is getting more favorable usage. So I think that's probably how you attack this from
I've got
Hunter's in his own category too.
We got to go to the report. We got to go to the report for this because I want to see some of their stuff listed out on the screen. It's just always good to be able to kind of look at
full season.
Yeah, I'm going full season. I'm going full
Okay.
season. I'm not even going to segment it out because I think it should do it here. But there's first of all, there's a lot of people that Trevor Lawrence is throwing the ball to. First and foremost,
Yep.
a lot of targets. So Jacoby, this is weeks 1 through 17. 21%, BTJ 18%, Parker Washington 17, Strange 15, Hunter 17, Brown 8, Trammell 10. Like it just you need like 18 to 21% is just not going to yield. Like you're not getting difference making play at the receiver position with that type of target share. You just got to be a fake touchdown kind of guy if that happens. 2.1 yards per route run for Parker Washington, much better than anybody else on Jacksonville, which is also telling. I like Strange, 15% in a year in which he wasn't out there a lot, right at 9 fantasy points on the season for him, 40 receptions. I mean, he was right in line with Brian Thomas. Let's go second half of the season. Now we got to filter a little bit, Scott. I'm kind of digging what we're doing right now. Or I could take games played out. What filter set are you looking at?
I was just looking at full season.
I want to go in P Wash. Let's get Travis Hunter out of there. Let's go 11 through 17. I want to see what it looks like. The back half when it felt like they kind of consolidated their offense to get going. 24% for Jacoby, 13 points. Parker Washington, 19%. 6 Trinity, 13 points. BTJ, 16%. Brenton Strange, 15.5%. So, yeah, I like Brenton Strange. Jacoby Myers is who he is. I don't know what the delta between Parker Washington and Travis Hunter truly is, or Parker Washington and Brian Thomas. I don't know.
Well, let's just use this logic. We agree that game before Travis Hunter got injured, he leapt Brian Thomas. The market was already there, remember?
Yes, people were excited. Yes, he was going to get his
People were
opportunity.
already ready to put Travis Hunter above BTJ. Then you look at the second half of the year, and Jacoby Myers comes in. He gets 23% of the targets from week 10 and beyond. Parker Washington gets 20%. Now, BTJ was injured a couple times, but like he was there. And these are two other receivers that got used better than him and got a bigger piece of the pie than he did. And that was before Brenton Strange even came back. And then he came back, I think, like week 12 or week 13 and immediately was in the mix. So, like, for me, the takeaway was I kind of think that Jacoby Myers is the one you can just pencil in for he is what he is. He's usable, but like if I don't have him, I'm fine with not having him because I think he's probably somewhere in the wide receiver 20 to 40 range.
Yeah.
And I'm probably betting that that's where he's going to be. Like he's not going to finish top 15. But then you look at Parker Washington and you're like, he probably belongs in the same range. But maybe he's even got a little more in the tank than what we've seen from Jacoby Myers. So I think it just comes down to like, what is the hopium on Brian Thomas? Because there's nothing about what we're looking about right now from the first half of the year or the second half of the year that tells me Brian Thomas is anybody that should be even worth the close to a reroll for Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson, Mekhi Lemon. You know what I mean? There's people that still have him in that range, though. And like this says otherwise. So there's a real squinting competition going on with Brian Thomas to push him still in that range. And it's just going back to what he did in 2024. And how do we harness that again? Like he's literally living off of that because it was very good for a rookie.
Man, I'm shocked to see Travis Hunter's value still so high on KTC.
I'm looking at I'm gonna go to KTC for the Jags right now, and you'll see.
Yeah, I'm here right now. I'm here right now.
Valued players they have.
Yeah, Brian Thomas still valued high. Travis Hunter second highest. Parker Washington ahead of Brenton Strange, who's lower than Jacoby Myers.
I mean, just look at that chart. Seeing what you see. It's pretty obvious who the guys are. If you could sell at their market, you'd sell at their market, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think BTJ is one of those blind spots where there's a shot you could find a team to give you like a 27 first for him still.
Really?
And many of the other receivers, I bet you if we put in, we don't have time to go through every team, but I bet you we could put in a bunch of receivers that are not seen as anywhere close to worth that on this screen. And you'd go, Brian Thomas isn't any better than them. But he still has that clout that could entice somebody to still, oh man, I really want to get some while his price is so low. Now, you're not getting him cheap if you're giving the 27 first, but I do think he's definitely a sell. I think Hunter's more of a buy, right? But that's more of a 2027 and beyond, because I'm just not sure you can get the KTC price for him right now. I just don't think you can.
Interesting. Yeah, what
you've heard my theory on Hunter, because I think he's eventually going to have to pick a position. You still agree with that?
Yes.
He's got to pick a position. When it comes down to getting a contract extension, he's not going to be able to play this. I play both. I'm the most valuable player in the league. He's got to pick a position.
Yes.
And I think ultimately next year is going to be a big year, because he probably does get his best shot next year to be a corner and start and play full time. But if he shows that he's not that, and he's more of like, okay, he's a nickel corner, he's going to be out there for part-time in certain packages, whatever, then I think his future is probably still at receiver, which means I want to have some in 27 when Jacoby Myers is 2 years older, Parker Washington might not be on the team, Brenton Strange might not be on the team. Now you're sitting here thinking, man, Travis Hunter still could emerge as, but he's going to have a different career trajectory than typical. Typically a year 3 receiver that hasn't smashed, you're like, oh, hell no. But I think there'll be an exception for him if he's in that boat going into 2027.
I just noticed that if you filter by team, like if you put the team up, then you could go to the player and then you can ISO the players that you want on the screen.
Oh, okay.
You know, like when we went back and looked at Houston and there were some players that weren't on the team during the time, but the thing, you could just go to your team and then click who you want and it will populate. I just figured that out just messing around with it right now. So if you have it on the team, and then you could just pick the guys that you want to be displayed, which is kind of cool. So
yeah, that is
always kind of learning something. That would be good. So if you go back to a prior year and you know that, again, Kirk wasn't on Houston back then, or whomever it is, Adams wasn't on the Rams, just take them off, you know?
Yep. So what's your take on this team? Because I mean, we've never really seen the five guys they're going to have ever out there at the same time. So it is one of the harder ones to parse through, but it's also, I mean, this is the 10th best offensive environment. They were basically top 10 in everything. You know what they weren't top 10 in that's hurting their environment score a little bit, Ray?
What? Touchdowns?
The concentration.
Yeah,
concentration, because they had 5 guys. So
too many. And then they played around with De'Ami Brown at the beginning of the season too, which kept Parker Washington suppressed. Yep.
Everything else was good. You know what this tells me? I'm not betting on Trevor Lawrence to come back down to earth. He's in a pretty good spot in terms of diverse weapons around him, a good offensive coordinator / head coach. Like, he feels like in the end, like
the real winner.
A little more T-Law from last year, and he continues to maintain being a top 12 guy.
Well, let's not forget, the first half of the season was much different than the second half of the season for Jacksonville and Trevor Lawrence in general. There were already some rumors that it wasn't clicking right with Liam Cohen, and then they got it rolling to where he turned himself into the QB1, I believe it had to have been like week 9 or 10 through the end of the season. He was
QB2 from like week 9 and beyond since they got Myers, and he ended up finishing QB6. So he literally turned around his season with just a strong second half. And I think that's the projection, is like, he did that without Travis Hunter. He did that without needing Brian Thomas to even really be that good.
Right.
So
imagine if they were. If BTJ is back, he doesn't go away, which is kind of problematic for everybody. Maybe the best case thing is to ship him to New England, right? Get him out of the picture so you can have the buy that I would be trying to of KTC value relative to cost and usage is Brenton Strange. It is tight end is not hard to spot, and he's one of the guys inside of what you called a great environment, where a couple of different things can happen and none of them impact Strange. If Hunter plays more on the defensive side of the ball, good for Strange. If they move off for Brian Thomas, good for Strange. Jacoby Myers is who he is. De'Ami Brown's out of the picture. I think that and when they give him a deal, because they will, he'll have that insulated value, and he's much better than a Ferguson from Dallas. He's way better than Jake Ferguson. Hey, this is a really talented player. I would be trying to get some Strange this year, and relative to where his KTC stuff is, I really like Brenton Strange.
That's a great point to end it, because I think a lot of times we look at they have too many receivers, and then people are scared of the tight end because he's not one of the best options on the roster, so I want to avoid him. But from a roster construction standpoint, you know where I want Brenton Strange most, right?
Where?
In those start 11 leagues where it's 175 premium, and he's not my starter. He's a flex. He's a guy I can put in every week. The premium warrants you can flex a tight end, and it's the type of environment where, you know what, I will live with some bad games, because guess what? He has 4 good receivers on his team. He's not going to get 7 catches a week, but the environment's going to carry him to a lot of good games. It's similar to Dalton Schultz. We just talked about the Texans. It's similar to Dalton Schultz. Like, you don't go after him because you're telling me that his ceiling is he's going to rival Colston Loveland or Harold Fannin. You know what I mean? You buy him because he is a relative to what you're paying, and I think it's apt to compare him to Parker Washington and Jacoby Myers. In the right premium, he's just a better flex than those guys, and he's cheaper. And it's not because I want him as my starting tight end, but I know that I can flex tight ends, and he'd be the guy that I'm willing to just say, you know what, I'll live with playing him every week.
Second half of the season, that usage was right in line with BTJ's, and I just went 9 through 17. 5.5, he's inside the wide receiver band. Brian Thomas, 5.6. And he was getting you about 10 points per game. And I just went 9 through 17. And he didn't even come back until what? Week 11, 12, something
12,
like that?
12 to 13 was his first game back, yeah.
So this was including whatever he had done prior to that. So I like him. I like Brenton Strange. Let's go 12. Just go 12 through 17, and we'll wrap it up and get up out of here. Update chart.
And this is a team that, you know what I don't want to see, Ray?
What?
This is not a team you chase a receiver they draft in the 5th round.
No.
Like, this is a team you just hope they just ignore pass catchers on draft day, because you're going to just create,
more. Yeah,
I'll probably ignore that guy, but
we
don't need any more.
No. And the fact that they traded a future first for a receiver they didn't know how to use probably will preclude them from taking one early. So get us up out of here. Yeah, exactly. Get us up out of here, Scott.
Well, this was fun. This was episode 4. If you missed the first 3, go back and check them out. We did 3 other NFC divisions. We're going to continue with the remaining 4 divisions here leading up to free agency coming up in the second week of March. If you don't have access to the Trinity Tracker, ddfantasyfootball.com, sign up. Become a member. You can also use the mock draft tool on there, which is all the rage right now. You can do rookie mocks for free. Jump in the community. You get access to the Discord, $14.99 a month to get you in the door with all the tools. And yeah, just continue to tune in, support the creators on the channel. We got some new shows coming out here. Brandon and Shane, or at least Shane announced that him and Brandon will be doing the new show.
That's going to be a good show.
Strict ADP value with those two leading it. I mean, if you want a show where you could just sit back and just talk about players and fire off crazy player takes, I can't think of a better combo, right?
Oh, man. And then we are going to figure out our schedule for Destination Chill very soon. So that will, once we got to wrap this series, and then that will just be us. Theory talk, situation. It's going to be a lot more football talk, but that's coming soon as well.
Yeah, you'll get a show once a week, but definitely frequently on the premium feed on YouTube with Ray and I doing something, whether it's Trinity, whether it's best ball drafts, you'll get something throughout the whole year. So if you remember, like, even when we finish this Trinity series, you and I will come up with another series of stuff to do and talk about that.
Get in the Patreon, though. That's where it's at. Like, for real, get in the community, join the community. There's all kinds of stuff going on from people who love the game. If you like this, if you like football, if you're trying to find a spot, that's where to be. And there's a lot of good stuff coming soon over there. So appreciate y'all, Scott. Good stuff, man. Appreciate you, Scott. Appreciate y'all watching. Hit the thumbs up button, like the video. And until next week, be easy. We're out. Peace.